the idea is to switch the performance paradigm and to say, okay, just realize that you are doing all these things, but at the end of the day, it's not for the money, it's not for the cars, it's not for the house, it's just to feel emotions. You want to feel these emotions, you want to feel proud of yourself, you want to feel happy, you want to feel at ease, you want to feel released. So why not create a system where the entry point of the system is to practice feeling these emotions. Wake up every morning and to practice feeling proud of yourself, to practice feeling at ease, to practice feeling loved. And then when you do that, three things happen. First thing, you start to enjoy your life. Second thing, you stop being an asshole for everybody around you. Even if you're the superstar, the number one, you stop being an asshole. You start to be a real human being in the present moment, enjoying life and having gratitude for what's there. And third thing is you come to the competition, to the court, to your office with some detachment, some unattachment. Because you know that it doesn't matter if you end up being number one or if you sell your company 1 billion. It's not because of that you are someone, that you can be loved and you can be someone. So all this is gone. And then now you get something back, which is something we had when we were a kid. You get your freedom back. And you're free. And when you're free, acceptance 100%, and you perform. And that's it.
You're in for a treat. We're here with Romain Bastide, and this interview I've actually been looking forward to the most out of our 5 hours, because there's just something so special about the perspective that Romain brings. So what I want to learn about today, of course, a little bit of your story, because you started off as a banker, Romain, and you ended up coaching one of the world's best tennis players and a billionaire and all these atypical people. And so I, of course, want to know how you went from banker to performance coach. And then hopefully the direction will take us somewhere magical. But I would love to, by the end of it, also get your take on what you see in Ultraspeaking that you see in other areas of your life. I know you do Wim Hof breathing and have really dove into that. So I'm really excited for this conversation because I want to learn so much about how you see the world. So let's get started, man. Thank you for being on our show. And maybe you could tell a little bit to people that don't know you. Like, what's your journey been? How did you go from banker to entrepreneur to coach?
Well, first, people have to know that I'm very impressed to be with the teachers in the same room. And then my journey, yeah, I think it started as an accident. I became a banker in a trading room, and I spent maybe 11 years doing it. And every morning during the 11 years, I would wake up feeling bad, feeling depressed. And I didn't want to go. And I had to go. And everybody outside was thinking, yeah, Romain is very successful. He's making a lot of money. He's a superstar. But I was miserable, like literally. It took me 11 years to have the courage of living something I know was not in line with my soul and my purpose and what I really wanted to do in life. And then I kind of asked for a sabbatical, which was the first step to commit suicide, bunking suicide. And then when you ask for a sabbatical, it means that you're out of it. And then 2 years later, I managed to get out. And then I started to create a startup. It was a startup where I put people together, and I will create, like you do, a cohort of people. But instead of learning public speaking, they will learn how to quit smoking together. And then during 21 days, they will support each other, cheer each other, get some coaching and get some support. And after the first 21 days of their quitting experience, instead of being a pain, instead of being suffering, they will just like enjoy making new friends, do some new activities, yoga, meditation. And then after 3 weeks, without noticing, you will have quit smoking. So we try to literally change the experience of quitting smoking. I did that maybe for 3 years, and after 3 years, I think I was fed up. Like everybody will only talk to me about smoking. I was like, no. It was a first step, but I think what I really love is like helping people. And I mean, since I'm a kid, I'm like everybody's in this room. I'm a competitor. Like I want to learn. I want to be the best. I want to compete. I want to learn new things. And my journey has been about that. And then I realized, okay, I'm not an entrepreneur. I can't be a CEO. I can't have just one project and go and do it every day. I feel bored after 1 week. So I'm not a good entrepreneur, but the only way I could do that is if I could have 15 or 20 different businesses or projects at the same time, which is not realistic. And then I realized, okay, coaching, projects, performance, meditation, mindfulness, well-being, what could I do? And in 2015, I started to create my own business, my own coaching practice, telling people that I'm going to coach like superstars and champions. But I had literally no clients. And I made myself like a business card written like magician, because I didn't like the word coach. The word coach, I thought it was bullshit for me. So I said, okay, I'm going to be a magician, and I'm going to have like champions, and I'm going to like be in their life and help them. Like first month, no client. I will go to dinners. I will go to dinners and like keep the face and telling to people what I was doing, like coaching high performers, coaching champions, and really even more than fake it until you make it. I was really like building the confidence and pretending that I'm someone I was not yet. And then the funny thing is that my first client was a previous investor of my startup. So was someone who lost money in my startup. And he came to me saying, okay, I want to do this with you. And I thought, okay, is he doing this to please me, or is he serious? But I took it. It was my first client. And then I think it's once you get the first one and you get the confidence, and then the most difficult part for me was to be patient, to find the patience of not having like a multi-million-dollar coaching business in 1 week was very challenging for me. Learning to put some space, to breathe, and to be confident that if every day you do the right thing, meaning you try to serve people and to connect with people you want to work with, that at some point all these little seeds are going to become flower, and you're going to get what you want. And it took me a couple of years to do that, and now I'm in that place where every morning I wake up, and instead of being like in pain and not wanting to go, I'm just excited to go. And I have the chance of working with artists, uh, sports player in different sports, tennis, golf, and like top entrepreneurs, CEOs, and I love it. And yeah, I did the course. I did the course because I'm a student of learning of life, and a student of the flow. And also I wanted to improve my public speaking skills. And it was a challenge for me also because, as you can hear, I'm not English, I'm French. And doing it in English, doing all these games under pressure in English was really interesting for me. And I was scared, but I did it, and it's life changing. That's what I'm here right now.
Well, we're gonna dive into that. I'm so curious. And before I ask you this question, the it's a little bit sharp, your volume. Is there a way you could turn down your microphone a tad, or your input volume? I don't know if it's coming in loud for you as well.
A little bit. It's not terrible, but can we ask in the chat? Is Romain's audio too high?
Is my voice terrible?
That's fine.
No, your voice is amazing.
I'd like to I think I'm gonna stop the audio just because
Oh, we can't hear anything anymore. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, but oh, that's interesting. So yeah, but I'd like to switch scenes, so I'm like this to give a little bit of a spotlight to the person speaking. So I think I'm going to. We won't get the music with it.
Amazing. So, Romain, can we do a little sound check? Can you say something?
Yeah, my name is Romain. I'm not freestyling. I'm not rapping.
Beautiful,
Perfect.
beautiful. The voice is incredible. So,
I
allow
didn't
me
change
to.
anything, by the way.
Yeah, it must be our software.
It was probably on your side because for me the audio was perfect.
Yeah.
Pas mal. Not
So
too bad.
this is
We're good.
fascinating because where I want to propel the conversation is a little bit forward. You're now fast forward to today. You're coaching very interesting people who I think what they have in common is they seem to be at the top of their game in one particular game, whether it's tennis or investing or something like that. So what I'm really curious about is what is it that you do for them, and how are you able to serve the entrepreneur, the athlete, and the investor with a skill set that you've cultivated yourself, having maybe not any of these top level skills yourself. What is it that you have or that you can see in others to help them elevate their game?
Yes. I think what's funny about it is that I learned so many things. I did so many trainings. I learned so many tricks and tools and methods to be able to coach people and to kind of transform their life that I got in a place where I was so confused about it because I knew too many things. And at the end of the day, I think what I do best is just to be there for people and to create a space for people that are surrounded by people, by success, by money, that have no space for themselves, meaning nobody is really listening to them. They can't really complain to anyone. They can't give their secrets to anyone because they are on top of their game, like you said. So, and they are also very scared that when someone come in their life, that they are here to take something from them. So I think my greatest gift is maybe that I'm able to create that space and to make people feel safe. And as Ali was saying, just to be vulnerable and not having to create another story, but just be in a space where you can be yourself. And it's very challenging because, as you saw in the freestyle, the main challenge in freestyling is not freestyling, is about not getting stuck in your head with all the comments and all the internal comments, the YouTube comments, and keep going. And it's kind of the same for everybody, even if you're number one in the world or just freestyling for fun on YouTube with some people listening. It's the same. You get stuck in your head at some point, and I'm trying to help them to get out of this head and just be.
Can I jump in? Because
Yeah.
make this real for me. People are trying to excel at a skill.
Yeah.
They're trying to be the best in the world at tennis. They're trying to make a lot of money. They're trying to get their company. And you're saying that there is this other ingredient that has nothing to do with the skill itself, that has something to do with feeling understood, feeling heard, maybe some other feeling that I haven't captured yet. Help me connect the dots. How does one area, which seems very much out here, help with the performance of the actual skill?
Yeah, I think when you have to perform under pressure, it's all the hours that you put before are at stake, because the more you prepare yourself, the more you are able to perform under pressure. But I think it's also your ability to just be present in that space and forget everything. Just no mind, no thoughts, just be there. And this skill gets hijacked, gets interference from lots of things in your day-to-day life. Like if you had an argument with someone, if you didn't sleep well, if you don't eat well, if anything can come up in that specific moment and pop up, and then it becomes an interference. I think what I help people is really to be clear about all the potential interferences that could come, clean them, but also become flexible, become, like we do in the course, be expect the things to go wrong, expect the words not to come, expect the ball to go in the net, and not be surprised if it goes, because otherwise you're just fearful in your head again, and it doesn't work.
This is it's so interesting because I never put two and two together. Everything you're saying is basically what we say with speaking. It's the exact same thing. I wrote it down because you said it so well. The biggest challenge with speaking isn't speaking, it's getting into your head. Everybody already knows how to speak is what we say. And I always hear people at the top of their game in sports say at this level it's about mindset more than anything. Yeah. And I never really understood what that meant. I'd imagine it's like, okay, I think they have to have a solid mindset. They have to have a bulletproof mind. But I had no idea what that actually meant. And listening to you speak and tying this with speaking ourselves, with our speaking coaching, I realized that it's all the same. It's all about entering flow. Is it as simple as that?
Yeah, it's as simple as that. But the problem is that when you're a high performer, you want to be performant, you want to win. And everything you do is a performance. You want to win. And that's why you are there. It's because of this mindset. It's because of this work, because of this attitude. But it's also the biggest limitation. Because at some point, when you too much want to win, when you have to win, when you need to win, when it needs to happen right now, when you need the rims in the freestyle to go right now, that's specifically when it doesn't come. That's specifically when your mind go blank, and that's specifically when you do the double fault in tennis, when you serve for the game. So there's
why is that this insane drive to want the outcome to happen is the biggest obstacle? Why?
Because there's something behind, which is very important, that at some point your level of acceptation that things could go wrong, that you could lose, that you could die, is very low. It's like you go live on stage and you want to be great. You are very prepared. You did everything to prepare yourself. And if before going there, you don't have an acceptation that it could go wrong, it doesn't mean that it's going to go wrong, but it could go wrong. There's a possibility that it could go wrong, that you have the right to lose. Nobody will judge you. You will still be loved. But if you don't have this inside you, then it's too much. And under pressure, it's going to be too much because you don't want to die and it's too much. Sometimes it's going to help you, but sometimes it's going to make you completely lose your game. And what's funny about all the people I work with, even if they are entrepreneurs in sport or artists, they all started because they were creative. They were like a kid. They were inspired. They wanted to do something. They wanted to achieve things. They wanted to create a new future. They wanted to win. And they were like kids. And it's basically being like a kid that helps them to learn, to grow, to win. But then it became so serious. It becomes very serious because there's money at stake. You have sponsors, you have investors, you have clients, you've got people working for you. So it becomes very serious and you need to perform. And then you wake up in the morning and you have to perform. And that's when you get burned out. That's when you lose sense of what you're doing. That's when you feel very lonely. So, and it's the same with speaking. You need to surrender, to go deep in the process, to play the games, but to accept that you could look like shit. And it's okay. And if you accept that it's okay, then you forget about it. You stop thinking unconsciously about it all the time. Like if it could go wrong, if it could go wrong, if it could go wrong. Like I'll give you an example. In golf is one of the most challenging game mentally. Because if you take all the best athletes in golf, roughly they all have the same level technically. They all have the same potential, like 0.1%, it's all the same. it's really not about the technical. It's just about the ability under pressure to deliver your potential. And imagine you're at the beginning of a hole and you look at the green. So that's your target. That's when you say that's your arrow. That's where you want to go. And it's important to know where you want to go. It's important to visualize because it puts you in the right state of mind, in the right physiology, and it's great. But then you need to forget about it. If you don't forget about it, not good. And also, coming back to what I was saying, is that if, for example, there are some obstacles like the water or the bunker, and if in your mind you say, I can't go there, I don't have to go there, I don't have to go there, well, basically you're going to go there. Because you're so much attached to not going there that all your nervous system is focused to there. You have a new target. It's to go in the obstacle. And it's the same thing with not accepting to lose. If you don't accept to lose, that you could lose, that you could miss, then unconsciously you're thinking about that all the time. Ooh. What if it happens? What if? And then that's when your mind go blank. That's when you freestyle and the rims don't come. But if you accept that you can fail, that you can be yourself, vulnerable, and that nothing's gonna happen, then you're okay. And I think at the end of the day, it's all about, it's all about self-love.
Well, so I understand this what you just said just exploded my brain, because I shared the exact same example, or a very similar example. That's, in driving, if you're trying to, you have to look where you want to go. And if you start focusing on the place you don't want to hit, you're going to hit it, skiing, anything. And I was talking about that very example, I think yesterday. Yeah. But you brought it to a level of nuance that I'd never thought of. And that it hits home. If you don't accept that you can lose, it's the same idea. Then the fear of losing is the thing, is a focus. And if that's there, then you're going straight into that. If I don't accept that I can fail, then of course you're going to fail or fumble or stutter or whatever it is that's not happening. And I felt that so intensely in the freestyle rapping. I've overcome it in speaking.
Yeah.
But in freestyle rapping, it was so real.
It's the same thing because, for example, in golf, you only have one ball. So it's so important that you put all your concentration, all your attention, and you have your target, you do your routine, and then you miss. The ball is out. And then you take a second ball. You have 2 shots penalty, you take a second ball. You don't care about anything. You don't even know where the target is. You just go and you swing it and poof, it goes right in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is that?
The error.
If we do the freestyle again right now, I put you in the place again right now, all the words are going to come right now.
Yeah.
Because it's done. You failed. So your level of acceptation now, it's 100%. You don't care.
So tell me about...
Can I ask a quick question before you jump in? Because I just want to explore the extreme side of it, which is the person that is a little bit delusional, but does not accept failure and instead blindly believes in absolute success. Meaning, it's the guy from Fire Festival, if you guys remember that dude. It's the guy that says failure...
A psychopath.
That's what? Psychopath, yeah. Well, Tony Robbins uses this example of, if you want to take over an island, burn your boats. Meaning, don't have a plan B where you return home. There's only one option. It's you take over the island or you die. And death is not an option. What's that?
It's the same thing. If you burn your boat, you accept to die. So your level of acceptation is 100%.
So you think the person that is saying, you ask him, like, how do you feel about playing the #1 in the world? And they say, I feel amazing. I'm going to win. Like, this game is mine. Do you think they are deluding themselves into a confidence where they're just not willing to look at the other possibility? Or do you think that type of mindset is actually a champion mindset?
It's a challenging question. I think for some people it's real. They are born like this. It's deep in their DNA and deep in their mindset. They breathe like it. They know that they're gonna be number one. And at 6 years old, they say it and they become number one in the world. And for some people, it's fake. They just try to convince themselves, but they don't even believe it.
What do you think is the most common amongst the number ones out there, the best in their businesses? Which do you think is the more dominant mindset? Acceptance or blind certainty?
Both. Like if you take Rafael Nadal, I think he's convinced that he's the best in the world and that he can be the best in the world. But when he plays, no matter who is playing, even if he's like a 19 years old or 200 in the world, he will show him respect and he will accept that it's possible that he lose. But it's different because he will go there and he will put everything in the game and he will put everything that is in his control to win the game. Everything in his attitude, everything, he will give everything. And that's where you should be proud of yourself, is if at the end of the game you gave everything, then you're on the right path to become number one. If at the end of the game you won, but you cheated, you were not like very honest and very into it, well, it's not really a win. Maybe it's a win, maybe it's money, maybe it's points, but you're not winning the internal battle, the internal match. And it's always this internal game about yourself and yourself judging yourself. We always say, like, in performance, you need to get out of your own way. It's the same with speaking. It's the same with golf, same with tennis. You need to get out of your own way. But to answer the question, I think certainty is not something psychological for me. It's something physiological. When you go in a place of certainty, it's the same thing you teach in speaking. You put your body, you put your brain in a place where there's full confidence. You play as if it was full confidence. And with the physiology of full confidence, if you walk like it, if you breathe like it, then it comes. If you enter the court and you feel like this and you feel miserable and you feel like everybody's watching you, then nothing's coming. So it all starts with the physiology.
I have a question here, because how do you bridge the gap in between understanding all of this knowledge and actually feeling it? Because I find that with freestyle rap, in a sense, I walked into there with a lot of this knowledge, because I've dedicated the last 4 years of my life thinking only about this and speaking, and it's exactly the same thing. Yet, for some reason, I was confused, and I still am with freestyle rapping. There's certain things that I may understand conceptually, but I haven't been able to embrace, and I wonder if what that might be.
Well, I'm sure you know the answer. It's also all about practice. I mean, practice, and not practice 3 years ago and then practice now. About practicing a little bit every day. And it's also about failing. Because today, what you experience today, which I will not call failing, but which is like not something you expected, is something which is going to help to go to the next level. And if you don't have this, you're not really challenging yourself to go to the next level. So I think it's the perfection of it. And if you look at an athlete, I mean, if you could look at the millions of hours where has been playing and in competition, yeah, there's so many moments like this. So
actually, I expected it to go like this. So that might be the reason why it went like this. That when you said that, I'm like, wait, this is exactly how I imagined it would go. And there was a tiny moment yesterday when I was spending the 3 minutes of freestyle rapping that I spent in the last, 3 months, freestyle rapping, and everything was coming out, where I had a little bit of hope. But the reality is when the time came and the music went on, I felt what I tend to feel freestyle rapping, and I realized, man, what you said, if you don't accept, you can lose. My focus was there. I wonder if it was if I created a self-fulfilling prophecy, or if in deluding myself, I didn't create the right mindset to be able to come in with a free mind.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes we go to some place, some competition, and we think we are preparing ourselves, authorizing ourselves to be successful at it, and giving ourselves permission, like to go and freestyle and have people watching you and be in the flow. But if you're really honest, and that's something that's very important, that's what I bring to people when we work together, is that learn to observe yourself. Learn to observe the patterns in your head. Learn to observe how you react in specific situations. Do you make jokes? Do you run away? Do you become very serious? Do you stop breathing? And the more you can become conscious of what's going on, the more you can change it progressively. But at the beginning, when you become aware of what you're doing, it's not pleasant, because you see all the stupid and bad things that you do. And that's the 4 steps of learning. First step, you're unconscious. You don't even know that you're doing it wrong. Second step, you become conscious that you're doing it wrong. Then you practice with repetition, with fun, slowing down, accelerating, with a safe environment, with the learning switch on. And then you become consciously competent. You know how to do things, you know how to freestyle, but you need to put your attention in a very specific place so that the words and the rims happen. And then you practice. Maybe you go back, you feel like crap, you feel like you don't get anything anymore. And then, poof, you go to the next level, you go to the roof, and then you come at a place where you can just do your signature, you can just tie your shoes, and you're completely unconscious and completely competent. And that's the beauty of the real flow, is that you don't have to think about anything, it just come. And all the sports people in the world, they are looking for that, to that place where they can go on the court and don't have to think about the position of the hand, don't have to think about anything, and just be there and play. And this place is a place of extreme competence, extreme confidence, but it's also a place of acceptance, and also a place of being playful. Being playful even if it's very serious. And that's all these components that are the experience of the flow, and that you bring in the course in public speaking, which is great.
I want to jump into something in the practice component of this, where at that level, right, the person who's been to the Stanley Cup Finals 7 times is more prepared than the person who this is their first Stanley Cup, and there's a lot of pressure. Although arguably they could be the same skill level objectively. So I'm curious, when we were speaking a little while ago, you brought in some Wim Hof breathing as well. And you were talking about how what's interesting about Wim Hof breathing, and I want you to put this in your words, but this idea that like sometimes all you need is 2 minutes to shock the system and get most of the rewards. And this like very short stress on the body to get the majority of the impact. And I'm wondering how that might apply to practice and to pressure.
Yeah,
I guess what I'm asking is to learn quick.
I hear many questions, so I can answer many questions.
I know, but what I'm trying to, I do this all the time, but what I'm trying to get to is like when we're in practice mode and when we're in learning mode and we want to learn faster, like Tristan wants to accelerate his freestyle rapping even faster. Okay. How do you practice better?
Well, first you practice with, well, 5 years ago, I read a book which had nothing to do with performance and nothing to do with flow. It was a book from a lady who's helping kids with special needs. And she's helping them to learn and to basically not learn faster, but to re-educate the brain and the body and to learn again. And I think she's a therapist and she's not in the performance area, but I read the book and it's she understood everything. You could take the book and put it to what you're saying, and she defines the answer with like 9 principles. The first principle is like to play with variations. That's what you do in your fundamental course. There's different games, different variations. It goes fast, there's some reps, different variations. So you need, like if you want a kid to learn how to go from ear to ear, you don't tell him to go from ear to ear 1,000 times. You help him do that, and maybe do that, and then do that. You do some variations, and then the brain is learning. Then there's something which is to slow down. Like if you want to take this, instead of doing this, to go very slowly and take it very slowly. By slowing down, you learn. Then for the kids, but it's the same thing for adults, she says you need to put the learning switch on. Like it's either 0 or 1, and you see it with your kids at home. If you want to teach them how to do something, is the learning switch on? And that's your job to put the learning switch on or to check that it's on. Meaning that there's full attention to what you're doing and not in your head doing something else. And also like with kids, it's like you see the eyes opening, you see the smile, there's a body engagement into it. And then you've got, she defines like 9 principles, but I will give you the book. It's called Kids Beyond Limits. And then at the end of the 9 principles, the most important principle, which regroups all the principles, is awareness. To become aware of what you're doing, of what's going on. And this is a practice that doesn't take 1 rep. It takes an entire life of becoming aware. Because there's so many things going on in nature, so many things going on in your brain, that to have this discipline of just be there and observe things and become aware of what's going on without judging things is the extreme skill. So to answer the question and to come back to Wim Hof method, there's also something which is very good for learning, is that if you do 5 hours of something, you get intoxicated by something and you don't learn. It goes the other way. And it's the same with the body. If you want to teach your body how to be more resilient, how to be more flexible, how to be more healthy, there's something in nature called the hormesis principle. And it says that the best way to do it is to put your body in challenging, stressful situation for a short period of time, respecting your capacity to adapt, meaning you don't go too far. And one environment, one ingredient that helps to do that is, for example, the cold. If you go into the cold, like if you go in the ice bath or under a cold shower, if you can stay just for a few seconds to start with, but be really mindful, really present, breathe, observe what's going on and decide to stay there, you're learning. You don't do it 2 hours, you don't do it 10 minutes, you just do a few seconds to start with. And every day you build up. First day you do maybe 10 seconds under the shower, the cold shower. Next day, another 10 seconds. And then you build up 15 seconds, 30 seconds. And then you come to a point where there's no point doing 15 minutes. If you do 2 minutes, it's enough. You have all your learning experience, all the effects for the body are there in 2 minutes.
It's like the point is not to be able to survive the cold the ice for 15 minutes, it feels like the point is to be mindful of what your brain does when it gets that stimulation, and notice the fighting, notice the resistance, notice the patterns, and then over time train it to do something different.
Exactly. And what's interesting about the call, the extreme call, is that everything you want us to experience in the public speaking course, in the ultra speaking course, in the cold, you don't have a choice to experience it. Because when you go in the cold, the experience is so extreme for the brain, for the reptilian brain that wants to protect us, that it's like all red flag. And the pain is so high that if you try to control things, if you try to be the man with your big ego staying in the cold, like maybe you can stay for a few seconds, but it's not going to work because it's so extreme. So the only way you can manage to stay in the cold, and we come back to everything we've been saying in the hour, the only way you can stay in the cold is by accepting what is, accepting the pain, accepting the sensations, accepting that there's a part of your brain screaming that you're going to die, and go deep in that, no mind, and just surrender. And just like in public speaking, use breathing. Use breathing to slow down. Like the first time when you go in the cold, it's so intense that I give only one objective to people, is just to breathe and to exhale as long as possible. To try to go like 8 seconds exhaling. And that's the only way you can slow down. And at the same time, your brain is going, but then you need to. And then what happens, the beauty of it is the beauty of the flow, and what we notice in speaking and in freestyle, that at some point you stop fighting. You just stop fighting. And when you stop fighting, everything opens, and it's beautiful because you are in a 0 degrees Celsius water, and you start to smile, and you start to feel alive, and you start to feel at ease. And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
This is what happened to Luli this morning. I don't know if you were there, but we coached Luli the first hour of the stream, and in the last 10 minutes, she broke. It opened up, and she let go, and it was just magical. And it was the oversaturate, just too much, like you were saying, like I can't hold all of this, and then suddenly poof, let go. And when we asked her to describe it, she described it as how did she describe it? It was so beautifully said that I don't want to.
I forgot
her words. Yeah. But it was something about feeling most like herself and being able to flow into something. Oh, she it's like she was contained the whole time, and suddenly she went outside of that container, and it was infinite, and she was almost floating.
And you feel infinite, you feel connected, you feel unified, you feel part of everything. You feel the experience of the flow, and in sport is also this experience of being in a place of nothingness. There's nothing. It's just pure energy. You don't even know if you're there. Yeah, like there's this story, like that the mother of me told me, that about Tiger Woods, who said that the biggest shots he had to do in tournaments under pressure, he just don't remember them. He don't remember anything. He doesn't remember anything. He just remember when he takes the clubs out of the bag, and he remembers when the ball lands. But in between, no memories.
That's beautiful. We get that so many times with our games.
And that's what's interesting, because when this happens, let's say, for example, you tell your story about your freestyling one night when you've been singing, doing the reggae vibes, and then you had this experience. And I forgot what I was saying.
It had to do with forgetting and flow. Well, this is perfectly topical, but it had to do with
Tiger Woods
forgetting the experience he was in when it was high performance. But this is something like we had Sudan on the chat.
No, I got it. I got it back. I got it back. So basically, when it happens and when you experience the flow for the first time, and maybe a couple of times, then you become attached to the experience of flow. And you want the flow to happen again.
Yeah.
And then it's like the drug. You want your drug to happen again. And then, again, your level of acceptance becomes low because you're not in the present anymore. You're living in a world where you want today the same experience that happened years ago to happen today. So you're in your head again. And that's the ego. That's the ego coming back from the back door, stepping his way very slowly, and then no flow again. So there's this thing in, I'm not good at martial arts, but I like which is called the beginner's mindset. It's to say when you become like the master of at your craft and you know everything in the world and you won all the games, like the thing that you do when you step in, when you enter, you just forget everything. You forget everything. You leave your notes, you forget everything. And you just do as if it was the very first time that you're here, the first time that you speak, the first time that you play. And you just go there, being present with every second. With every second. When I say present with every second, it's also something important that usually presence has become a tool to become performant nowadays. But it becomes a tool, but it's not really presence because you say, okay, I'm going to be present so that I'm going to be performant. So you're doing something to get a result. You're preparing something, you're doing a pre-shot routine to get a result. That's not presence. That's better, but that's not presence. Being present is every second has the same importance. When you prepare the shot, when you hit the ball, when you look at the ball leaving your club, it has the same importance. If it doesn't, then you're at risk.
On one side, I'm seeing the practice as being very difficult, this kind of like hyper focus on every moment. And on the other side, I think of kids who have no concept of presence and they're just, every day is magical for them and they're achieving presence without even being mindful of it. So what's the pathway for adults that are kind of in the middle, that are skilled somewhat and they do want to get better, so they do have some objective, but they also know that presence is the answer? Where do they go?
I think it's all about the entry point. Which entry point do you choose in your attention to become present? So I can give you a few examples. For example, I just give you a first one. If you use your eyes, like right now, if you really use your eyes and you really look at what's in front of you, but really like you look at it as if you were 5 years old and you discover the world and you are very curious. You see the shapes, you see the color. You don't judge anything. You just look. If you could maintain that focus, just the look, it's the way of getting in the flow. Because if you do that, it means that your thinking brain is getting busy and channeled in doing that, and then everything is gonna flow. So that's one example. You can do that in public speaking, I guess. It's very powerful. You go in front of the audience, and instead of being in your head, you just look, but you look sincerely, like every second is important. Every second you discover something new when you look, and you look, and you look, and then the words start to flow. Or you can be using your body. Like you could be speaking, you could be performing, and you could be putting all your attention, all your focus at observing the sensations in the body. Not in your mind, not projecting yourself, not comparing yourself, not being fearful of being judged, but just being second by second very curious of the sensations. If I do it right now, I become mindful that I have tension in my back. So I just Stay with it. I feel my legs. I feel the chair. And you just do that. And if you do that, it slows down. The experience of flow arrives again. That's one example. Another example, which is the crazy thing about sport, is that, and it's very difficult to understand even for top players. When you do a fluid motion, when you do a fluid swing or whatever the sport is, it needs to be fluid in the body. But to be fluid in the body, it needs to be fluid in the brain. And to be fluid in the brain, it means that there's a signal. The signal to do the swing has to come from one place and go to the other place directly, like I wait there. If you start questioning things, if you start trying to control things, then interference. It doesn't go there directly, and then that's where you do all these technical faults that from the outside you're going to say it's a technical fault, but it has nothing to do with the technique. It's something neurological. You fucked up the process in the brain to go from one place to another and to take, like I take that pen, there's no minding, no thinking. The brain does it. It's like swinging, it's like speaking. If you start thinking, the prefrontal cortex, it lights up, and then it's scared, so it's gonna interfere, it's gonna pick up things, it's gonna comment, it's gonna judge, and it's not happening. So the question is, how do you prepare yourself, and what do you do under pressure to make sure that the signal goes from here to there directly? And there's a funny thing that the experience for this to happen is the mind doesn't have to be too concrete. If it's too concrete for the mind, then you're in your head. It's intellectual. You're not in the creative brain. So you need your brain to be in abstract mode. So some tools you can use, like in speaking, in golf, in tennis, in whatever you're doing, is you're going to decide that your only objective, your only focus, your only target is, for example, to feel love in your body. To feel, for example, gratitude and love in your body. So you put that feeling in your body, and then your only objective is to stay focused on it. And then you enter in the motion, but all the brain, all the focus, you stay on the sensation, you stay on the love sensation. And if you do that, you're basically stepping out of your own way, and you let your body do its work. You let your mouth speak the words, and you're in the flow. So you've got different things that you can use to put yourself in this abstraction. But it's very challenging for a competitor, because it means that you need to forget about the target. You need to forget about the arrow. You need to forget about the intention. You need to forget about where you're going, which is challenging. But if you do it, it changes everything. And I'm so deep in that I bought some at some point. I bought some machines like that can track your activity in the brain, and then there's no cheating. So it says, are you in the right space or not? And then we practice all these drills, and we see that you learn how to put yourself in that space, and then you observe by yourself that when you're in that space, the motion goes fluidly, and then you perform. So then it progressively changes the belief, the pattern in the brain that you need to control things.
This is just blowing my brain. I said in the beginning before you came in, I think you could hear, but I was saying Romain's going to explain what we do better than we can explain it. And so much of what you're saying, there's more here. I'm learning a lot, but there's so much of the foundation of what you're sharing here that is what we discovered experientially, just through just trying to get people out of their heads into their bodies and to stop thinking about the speaking. We went from we just experimented with hundreds and hundreds, now of thousands of people. And the conclusions we've come to are so linked to this. And Yeah, I can't wait to bring this to an even deeper level.
Yeah, and I'm going to give you another example of what you're doing. So what you're doing is you're helping people to learn how to speak publicly very fast doing this ultra speaking method. And you're doing it by putting people in the hot seat under pressure. In 1 minute, they have to deliver something. And they don't have to break character. They have to stay in it from beginning to the end. They have to stop judging themselves. They have to feel safe. They have to go there and to iterate and learn. And then 5 weeks together, at the end, you're a different man or a different woman. In golf, there's a coach that has been training, a mental coach that has been training an Italian player for 2 or 3 years, and he's been doing the same thing with him. So instead of going to the practice range and hitting 1,000 balls like very casually and then there's no learning, what he will do is that he will put him under pressure. For example, he will like tell him, okay, you're going to run from here to here, and then you're going to go in front of the ball, find the target, and hit the ball. So basically what he's doing, what he's teaching him is how to hit balls with, with no air, with everything fucked up, and still managing to get in a flow under the turbulences. And that's very powerful because all these players, everybody has been training, but they're training like they hit millions of balls. And then when they go on the course in competition, it's the war in their head. All the body, there's some cortisol, all the stress, everything changes. So basically it means that they practice for nothing because they didn't practice the real condition of the game, of the fight. And that's what you're doing. You're preparing people to feel at ease when it's the war in their head, when everything collapses, when you forget everything, when you have an audience looking at you and say, what's going on? You help people to still stay there, start a sentence without knowing what they are talking about, and find their way back and end up on their feet and nobody notices it. Like I remember when I took your guitar course, you really tell people that in music, when people do some mistakes, as long as they stay with it and stick to it and keep playing, nobody notices it. It's the same with talking. And it's the same with everything in life. If you keep working at it with the same playfulness, enthusiasm, that you keep learning, and then... And the last thing I want to say, coming back at the first question, is what I do with people and how do I help them, is that everybody I work with, and I'm the first one we fall in the trap that we want to achieve so many things. We want to perform at so many games. And we live in that world that at some point, once we will have achieved our goals, once we will be number one, then we can relax. Then we can feel proud of ourselves. Then we can remove all the anxiety, all the stress, and we can just be happy to be here and enjoy life. And some people, they devote like 40 years of their life to be the best, to perform at their best, but they have a crappy life. And maybe from the outside, everybody wants to be in their life, but the reality is that they are miserable. And it's so many people in the sport, in the art, in an entrepreneur are miserable. So then the idea is to switch the performance paradigm and to say, okay, just realize that you are doing all these things, but at the end of the day, it's not for the money, it's not for the cars, it's not for the house, it's just to feel emotions. You want to feel these emotions, you want to feel proud of yourself, you want to feel happy, you want to feel at ease, you want to feel released. So why not create a system where the entry point of the system is to practice feeling these emotions. Wake up every morning and to practice feeling proud of yourself, to practice feeling at ease, to practice feeling loved. And then when you do that, two things happen. First thing, you start to enjoy your life. No, three things happen. First thing, you start to enjoy your life. Second thing, you stop being an asshole for everybody around you. Even if you're the superstar, the number one, you stop being an asshole. You start to be a real human being in the present moment, enjoying life and having gratitude for what's there. And third thing is you come to the competition, to the court, to your office with some detachment, some unattachment, because you know that it doesn't matter if you end up being number one or if you sell your company 1 billion. It's not because of that you are someone, that you can be loved and you can be someone. So all this is gone. And then now you get something back, which is something we had when we were a kid. You get your freedom back. And you're free. And when you're free, acceptance 100%, and you perform. And that's it.
Wow.
Holy, I can't take this. This is I want to do everything you're saying. This is the best conversation of my life.
Yeah.
It's wow. There's so much here. Thank you, Oma.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. I want you back. I want you back on the show because there's so much that I want to explore deeper.
Yeah.
I just want to freestyle.
Okay, then we're also gonna freestyle next time.
Amazing. Romain, tell us where people can find you. How do people get involved with your work?
It's a good question. Well, I'm hiding myself in Portugal, so they can't find me. But otherwise, it's just type my name, like romainbastide.com, and I have a website, and they can find me.
Amazing.
I just posted that.
And if anybody has a question, a suggestion, or wants to ask me anything, I'd be happy to interact.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you so much for enlightening us and for being here. Truly.
Oh, this was fascinating.
Yeah. Romain, we'll talk to you soon. I really
Cool. Take care,
you being
guys.
here.
It was a pleasure.
Cheers, Oma.
Thanks, man. Man, my mind is just. I wish we had another hour because I wanted to bring in the spirituality universe aspect of it, because people are writing in the comments right now, like Boris wrote a quote from Dawson Church that he paraphrased, join the universe by finding and matching the tempo of life. Oof. Let go of the edges of yourself and participate in the dance of what we call consciousness.
What? Where
and
did
right
you
after,
read it? Where are you reading? Is this in the chat?
This is in the YouTube chat.
Oh, wow.
And
that's amazing.
what Amira wrote under that is flow equals alignment with the multiverse. Alignment with the multiverse. And so I really wanted to ask Romain, like, if you want to excel at the skill at high performance, it seems like you have to have this, like, it seems like spirituality and the deeper curiosity of how the universe works and this alignment with what is and what is nature, like, that has to play a role in your ability to detach and to surrender. So I just find that so curious.
I've never been more happy to have started something. This is the Ultraspeaking is the thing, one of the things I'm most proud of in my life. But starting this live stream, I already know is going to change so much, because all I want to do is talk to Romain Bastide and everybody like him. I'm going to treat so many things differently. I want to run to my wife and say, let's wake up in the morning and practice emotions. And I want to treat my chess practice in a different way and set a timer. And instead of playing for 30 minutes, I want to see how hard can I focus for 3. And I want to use all of these things that he's been talking about and apply our own principles of Ultraspeaking. Where can I apply these in other areas in my life with more intention? And I just feel so inspired by this conversation that I'm excited that we have this platform now.